It's the perfect time to tell you guys a scary true story. My neighbor just brought me some grapes from his vine. It's storming outside, pouring rain. So in 2008, I met a man that we'll call Wayne, and we hit it off very quickly. The only problem is he was just as haunted as I was, so putting us together in a haunted house would prove to be very dangerous. Our first night of living together, he gets in a car wreck, breaks his hand, wrist, and elbow. At the end of the driveway, his radio goes out, and that's where he sees a little girl in a white dress, so he swerves to miss her and hits a tree. We would see that same little girl again later on in our house and on our property. So after we came home from the hospital, we're walking through the front door when these two birds slam into the window and fall dead. We get in the house, he starts cooking while I take a shower, and I get this creepy feeling like someone's watching me in the shower. So I call Wayne back there and I'm like, hey, will you sit with me? I know you're trying to cook and I hate to bother you, but like I'm really scared back here. So he gets in the shower after me, and while I'm getting dressed, he says he can feel it too and begs me not to leave him alone. We're in the kitchen standing side by side cooking when sparks start shooting out the stove and the whole thing catches on fire. So we flip the breaker and pull the stove out, and there's no shortage in the wire, no burn spots, there's no reason for the stove to catch on fire. We cut the power back on, plug the stove up, it goes back to working like it's brand new. And there were these horrible smells that would just appear out of nowhere in our house. It stunk so bad. Smell of garlic and sulfur, it would knock you down. Now despite the scary stuff, we were two big horn dogs and we were trying to get it on this night. So we're doing the deed and he's on top when he says stop. I said stop what? He said stop tickling my feet, girl. I said dude, you're 6'7", my hands are up here, how would I reach your feet? He said well if you're not doing it, oh my god. Then he jumps up. He said Alicia, I'm telling you, somebody grabbed my foot. It happened 3 times. I said well you know it weren't me because my hands were up in the air. We had no pets, no children, no cat, dog, gerbil, nothing. There was no reason for anything to be grabbing his foot. Well, I'm sitting in the bathroom trying to take a when I see movement underneath the door, and I yell out, Wayne, what are you doing? You want to come in and smell it? And he doesn't say anything. I reach over and grab the bathroom doorknob and open the door, but nobody's standing there. That's when I hear the front door open and slam back shut. Hey, baby, you want to go to town with me? And I say, well, you were just right here, right? No, I just came from outside. Dude, I know you were just standing at the bathroom door. No, I wasn't, Alicia. I was outside working in the garden. The man was covered in dirt. His hands were filthy. He was holding a little garden rake. I said, all right, I'm getting freaked out now. I know what I just saw. One morning we get up and we're going to the doctor's office, but before we leave, we can't find the keys. Now, we had a key hook that we always hung those keys on. We didn't have the keys. We had a doctor's appointment to go to and get our pain meds. Neither one of us would have risked missing that. We spent 2 hours tearing the house apart, could not find the keys anywhere. I finally said, you know what? I'll hotwire it. Let's go. And right when we started to walk out the door, the keys were hanging up on the hook. So behind our house was this big giant field, and we would sit on the back porch while we were smoking and watch the sun go down. On this evening, there was a thunderstorm approaching, and we could see this black shadowy figure walking towards the house from that field. This thing got closer and closer, so we started yelling out, who are you? What are you doing back there? But it didn't answer. So we go in to get a flashlight because it's almost dark, and when we come back out, this thing is at least 50 yards closer. It's moving fast. Right when it got to the edge of the property, this thing completely disappeared in front of both of us. All throughout that night, Wayne swore he could see this thing walking past the window, but every time he went out, he couldn't find it. So Wayne decides he wants a pet guinea pig, so we find a guinea pig cage on Craigslist, but we found somebody that had guinea pigs, but we couldn't pick them up until the next week, so we set the cage up that night and then we went to bed. This cage had 2 little bells in it for the guinea pig to play with. One was broken and one worked. At 2 o'clock in the morning, Wayne taps me in the arm and says, Alicia, wake up. What is that? I said, what? He said, what is that noise? I said, that's just a guinea pig playing with the bell. He said, Alicia, we don't have a guinea pig. We're not picking it up until next week. And then we both jump up. So we run in the living room where the cage is, and there's nothing in it. That damn bell would ring anywhere from 1 to 4 a.m. unless you were looking at it. Even when we slept on the couch, you would wake up to hear that bell ring, and when you would look over, it would stop. One night, our friend spends a night with us, and the next morning, he gets up to go to work. He goes out and gets in his car, and 5 minutes later, he flies back up in the driveway, runs back in the house, and slams the door shut. This boy was pale white, trembling, stuttering. You could tell he was terrified. So I sit up on the couch and say, what's wrong, Hunter? He said, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. I said, try me. He said, Alicia, I swear there was something in the back seat of my car. I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw this face, and it grabbed my shoulder, and I slammed on brakes and almost wrecked in the ditch. Me and Wayne just look at each other, and we start telling Hunter about everything that had been going on in our house. What really creeped me and Wayne out was one night we were laying on the bed watching TV, falling asleep, and I fell asleep before he did. He's laying behind me rubbing my shoulders, and he runs his hand down my arms to my legs, and he's touching my butt. As soon as his hand touched my ass, I sat up, looked at him, and went, don't you ever touch her like that again. So Wayne jumps up off the couch, and he can now see I'm not me. Something's wrong. He said my pupils were so big my eyes looked black, and my eyes would follow him without my head moving. He kneeled down in front of me and said, Alicia, wake up. And then I said back, I'm going to unalive you. The look on my face scared him so bad that he ran into the bedroom and shut and locked the door. He heard my feet hit the floor when I got off the couch, so he opened the bedroom door, and that was where he found me. I was having my first and only seizure ever, on my knees, kneeling underneath the hallway light. So he comes out and grabs me up, and I yell, don't ever touch her like that again. again, then he drags me to the bedroom. He called an ambulance out, and I was still seizing when the EMTs got there, but once I came to, they said nothing was wrong with me. They don't know why I had the seizure. I've never had another. A couple nights later, me and him are having an argument, and we sleep in separate rooms. But later that night, he comes and gets in the bed with me. I would do this thing when we were arguing. If I heard him snoring, that was when I would roll over and start cuddling him, so that's what I did this night. As soon as I hear him snoring, I roll over, and now we're face to face, and when I open my eyes, his eyes are looking directly at me, so I push him away from me, and he starts smiling. And by the way, he's still snoring and knocked out. His face looks like a demonic face. It's not him. I yell out, "Who the fuck are you? What do you want from us?" And it yells back, "My name is Jim and I want you." Bop! And it palmed me in my damn face. It palmed me so hard my head bounced off the wall. Now I used to have a really bad temper, and when this happened, I could not contain my anger. I instantly started throwing blows, whap, 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 hard as I could. And that was when Wayne woke up and started grabbing my hands like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What is wrong with you?" And then he starts denying that he ever palmed me, and I'm like, "Do you see that dent in the wall? You broke the sheetrock with my head." So we both agree, okay, this is getting out of control. We need to get some help here. So we call his aunt at 2 o'clock in the morning who lived in the mountains because she owned this property. She was born and raised there, and we start asking her about the land's history. She tried to tell us that nothing bad had ever happened on this property. We're making all this up for attention, and that her and her siblings had a wonderful childhood here. We said, okay, we'll call his mom because we know she'll tell us the truth. His mama told a whole different story. She said the reason she left this place was because it was so haunted. And she tells us something that had never been shared throughout the family history.